I'm going to go ahead and introduce our next presenter, Miss Nanda. So Nanda is a marketing nerd at heart. Nanda holds a BS degree in marketing and an international MBA from the University of South Carolina. Through long stints in the corporate world at Michelin and L'Oreal, she worked in France and New York City before putting down roots in Charlotte, North Carolina. As a stay-at-home mom who enjoys providing freelance brand strategy and marketing consulting services on the side, Nanda is passionate about being a professional philanthropist. There we go. Drawing from her international corporate experiences to assist nonprofits in making the best impact they can. An alum and founder of Chi Chapter, Nanda currently serves as Vice President of Communications on the Omega Phi Alpha Board of Directors. Everybody, welcome Nanda.
Hello, hello. I am going to quickly share my screen with you all. Go. Here we go. Thank you, Taylor. So I'm really glad to see some familiar faces here since this is our first Officer Leadership Academy. So kudos to Taylor and Alyssa for getting all of this together. I'm sure you guys have you're literally just touching the tip of the iceberg of all the information they have to share with you. And so I'm honored to be a part of it to help kind of kick things off. So Taylor told you a little bit about me. Also, before I get started, I'm not so great with the hand raising and the chats, and when I'm presenting, I can't really keep up with it all. So Alyssa or Taylor, if you can just stop me and let me know if something's going on that I need to know about. So for my portion of this little weekend that you guys have planned, I wanted to first start by grounding us. Grounding us for us all to remember why we're here in this virtual room, here in this organization, and talk about why are you part of OPA? What's your why? A lot of you have talked about that before, either on social media or other outlets. And then really talk about why that's so important to share. So to start, that's me, 1996, senior in high school. Not a super great picture. You guys have senior pictures. You may love them. In a few years, you may not. And that's the case for me. That's my senior picture. I am from Greenville, South Carolina. I went to Riverside High School. I graduated high school with this long hair down to my butt. And who was I? I was a good student in all of the clubs, National Honor Society, Key Club, Beta Club. And when I say I was in them, I was in them. I was the president, I was the treasurer, I was the secretary. A lot of you guys can identify with that. That's what you're doing now. That may have been what you did in high school. And that was kind of part of my identity. That's who I was. And I went into college with that kind of as my identity, being involved in everything. And when I got to campus, one of my goals was to find that, to kind of recreate that, figure out who I was, and I was looking to join something. So why did I join OPA? I was looking for my people. And as each of you have done, as soon as you get to campus, you find your bearings, figure out where things are, figure out who people are, familiarize yourself with the environment, and then you start to figure out who you are and how you fit. And you were probably looking for your people too. I was looking for my people. That's step one. And that's why I was looking for a club. My first semester, freshman year, I had this great plan. I'm a planner. And my two older neighbors were also at USC, and they were tryouts, and they gave me a recommendation. So first semester, I went to Social Rush, and I was going to join a social sorority, and I was so excited. And then I didn't get a bid. Womp womp, did not get a bid. So I asked my friends who basically told me they were getting me in, what's going on? And they said, well, on paper, you were perfect and everyone wanted you. And then they met you and you don't quite look like a tryout. Awesome. Great. I was a little bit let down, but I didn't let it get me down. So second semester comes around, here I am. What am I going to do? What am I going to join? I'm going to join AKA. And I went to AKA and they loved me. And they told me how cute I was and it was so great. And then they said, I don't really think that this is for you. Awesome. Great. So I just decided to volunteer around campus, you know, in different organizations, do some Habitat for Humanity work, volunteer work with the Baptist Student Organization. And I saw an ad in the classifieds in the Daily Gamecock, the daily newspaper. And it was from someone who was a sister at another chapter, an OPA sister at another chapter. And the ad said, are you interested in service? Would you like to be involved in a social sorority? Well, that was me. That was me. I could do all of that. I could create my place and my people could follow, you know, my people would follow OFIA, and that's what we did. So we could all make a difference. We were all looking for people and looking for our place and looking to make a difference. And that's how we started Chi Chapter. So why did I stay? Why did I stay involved? So tiny little caveat before I go into this. After graduation, I didn't really stay involved with OFA, but I came back 20 years later, and let me tell you why. During my time at USC, I found my people and created these friendships and these bonds with people who became my sisters, like real sisters. Of course, you all know. They became bridesmaids in my wedding. I found my place in leadership. I kind of knew it after high school. Like I said, that's my thing. And I realized that I could give this to OFA and served in lots of leadership roles like you all. But more importantly, those opportunities taught me the skills to use later in my career. And they also boosted my resume really well. I was flat out told in some interviews that, you know, these positions put you above the other candidates. So that was a plus. And, you know, I said I wasn't as involved with OFA after graduation because life happens and I was focusing on my career. I did go back to USC for grad school for my MBA. And it was, I had a revelation one day that I'd actually made a difference in the world, because I saw a girl wearing OFIA letters 6 years later, and I had no idea that this little thing that we started was still going and going strong in one of the best organizations on campus. And at that moment, that's when I realized I did it. I made a difference. Even if it wasn't just my service hours, it's what I gave to the organization that made it sustainable. So that years later, 6 years later, by that time, hundreds of girls, not the 10 who founded OFA, hundreds of girls had already made a difference, had in their communities, the local community, in their communities at home, and it hit me. So a few years later, when I decided to get involved again, I was on the OLT as a brand manager because I had the foundation of the leadership skills that I had honed in my chapter and that I used in my career. And I was able to use my experience and my professional experience with the organization. So now I'm on the board of directors in a communications role. And I feel like, all of the tiny little decisions that we make as a board of directors, we're helping you, and we're helping you to make the difference for those who come after you. What you do now is laying the groundwork for years later, the other people who come and keep it alive. So that's my why. That's my why. And as I said, years later, I'm still making new bonds with sisters, with alum like Taylor and Alyssa, people that you meet and you just have an instant connection with. We each share our stories of why we joined. And it's just an instant bond. I met Taylor for the first time last month at convention, and we hit it off like, okay, we could be besties. We could totally be besties. I mean, everybody could be besties with Taylor, but we could totally be besties. And I'm just really enjoying staying involved in OPA. So that's my OPA story. And what I would love for us to do is a really quick activity on your why. So some of you have seen these posts. You may have even created them for your chapters, right? Why OPA Wednesdays. You may have done this for recruitment. I've got a screenshot here just of a couple of, answers from a few sisters about their why. I love community service and wanted more friends, LOL. Why did I join? To make a big school feel smaller and more like home. So these types of responses are important for you to share. And we're going to talk a little bit about why. But before we do, I want to hear from you. Why did you join? Was it to make a big school feel smaller? Was it to find your people? I want to hear in your words why you joined. Anyone like to start? Yes, Sydney.
Sorry, I wanted to make sure my audio's on.
Yeah.
So I joined OPA the second semester of my freshman year. I had a very difficult time going into the Thanksgiving and Christmas break of my freshman year. One, I was a freshman in 2020. Two, I had built this large group of friends through Facebook groups that had all kind of fallen through and kind of become a very toxic and bad situation. So I will admit, going into a situation like recruitment, I was very hesitant, especially around the normal ideas of what a sorority recruitment is, and it being kind of like they're judging you, they're looking to see if you'd be a good fit, they're looking for a specific type of person. And it was the furthest thing from that. And I am really, really grateful for that. And I love that we are doing this exercise, because the first note I put in my membership director notes for our first chapter of the semester meeting was to have people come up with their own why to share with potential members when they're recruiting on campus, rather than just giving the general spiel about the amount of service we do, our sisterhood events, retreat, other things that we do, the friends that they've made, just kind of drawing on personal experiences rather than going for the general accolades.
I love that. That's a great idea that you've stolen from my last slide. I love it, sharing it in your first chapter meeting. And I think you made a good point there about, not just talking about all the fun we have and the service we do. That's why you stayed. It's important to share why you joined as well as why you stayed. Grace, looks like Grace Mather has her hand up.
So I joined OPA. I transferred in the middle of my junior year. in the middle of the pandemic. And so everything online, and I was honestly just looking for a way to get connected into campus and like make friends, and looking at other social sororities, and then I was looking at OPA, and just like our values just really got my attention, and I had a couple members follow me on Instagram and like DM'd me, but I really joined just to like make friends and find like a more purpose in my life, because I was going through a really hard time with my mental health. And honestly, um, my sisters in my chapter have really helped me, and I'm grateful for OPA and what it has done in my life.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I think one thing you mentioned stands out that we should keep in mind is someone reached out to you. You know, they started following you, and it just feels like you're wanted. It just feels like someone is there. So thanks for sharing that. I see in the chat there is lots. Ashley says, I joined OPA my junior year of college. I wasn't sure if I would fit in because of that. That's always a thing when you join later. During recruitment, I was welcomed with open arms. Even though our age class are different, we're one big happy family. Yes, indeed. Mac says, I was looking for a Greek life organization that embraced me fully, non-binary, queer, and had a meaningful impact in the community and the world. That's so important. It's huge. Lindsay says, I really wanted friends, and the first recruitment event I stopped by immediately pulled me in. Everyone was really inviting, and I didn't feel like I wouldn't belong, even from the very beginning. The majority of my friends are a part of OPA, so I stayed for them as well as for the service and leadership opportunities. Awesome. Claire.
Hi. So for one, I am in the chapter like Alpha Omicron, which is in University of Florida, which like I don't know if you know, it's a really big school. Like it's one of the biggest schools in our state. I didn't plan on going there. It was not my top choice. I originally wanted to go to a much smaller school, but just how things worked out, I ended up here. And I was super nervous about like kind of getting lost in such a large group of people. So, and like I was walking around campus one day and there's like a sign that says like Omega Phi Alpha and like recruitment dates, and I like looked them up on Instagram, and it's like, oh, tomorrow there's a tabling event, and I go to their tabling event, and it was like I met the president and she was so sweet to me, and like everyone was just so nice, and I like started going to like some other things, and then I joined, and I like everyone, it was always so nice, and it was like you felt very like you, it really emphasized the whole like sisterhood and friendship, which I enjoyed, and it felt like there was a lot less pressure to like try and be something you weren't, as some of the social sororities felt much more superficial.
I love that. I love that point that you made about, you know, I didn't plan to go there. That was not my first choice, because a lot of people out there, myself included, had that same experience. So thank you for sharing that. We probably have time for two more. I see Carly and Kate have their hands up. Kate, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, so I go to Penn State. I'm at the Alpha Theta chapter, and originally like going into college, I kind of had the mindset, I was like, there's no way I'm gonna rush a sorority, like there's no way I'm gonna be involved in Greek life, like I'm not about that. But my older both my older sisters went to Penn State as well, and my one sister didn't rush, but my other sister rushed a social sorority, and both of them over winter break, they're like, kind of notice that you haven't been acting like yourself up at Penn State, and like maybe if you just like checked out OPA, like everyone I met in that chapter, everyone I know in that chapter, they're like the best people I've met up at Penn State. And so I just gave recruitment a try because it was over Zoom because it was like my second semester freshman year. So it was still during COVID. And so I went to the like Zoom recruitment, and literally like the first breakout rooms that I was in, like it already felt like they were like, we've known each other. Like they were just so easy to talk to. And just kind of like hearing about them from my sisters. And even though my one sister didn't rush, just hearing like good stuff from her, like definitely helps me decide to rush. And I'm glad I did.
I love that. I love that, especially because you had people looking out for you to help guide you into finding something that works for you. Carly, did you get a haircut?
I did, yes.
I love it.
Thank you. So I have a similar story to everybody else. Just kind of I went into college, it was my freshman year was 2020 as well. So it was already weird, like not used to things, being on Zoom all the time. And I had gone in, I was really debating if I was going to rush a Panhellenic social sorority, and I wasn't sure. And my mom one night saw on a parent Facebook group for Arizona State about OFIA and sent it to me. I was like, huh, that sounds really cool. I loved doing service in high school as an NHS, kind of like what you said, Nanda, like NHS. I was in Key Club, I did it all. And I went to, it was literally like the last recruitment session of like fall 2020. I went, and my freshman dorm, I had a picture of Harry Styles, like a poster behind me where I sat at my desk, and I became the Harry Styles girl. And so everybody wanted to talk to me about Harry Styles, and I just love him. And so it was so great to get to connect with all of these people about the shared love. And so that kind of just started from there, that everybody was like, oh, you're the girl that has the poster, we've heard about you, you know. So I was really felt like, as much as I could be over Zoom, welcomed in with open arms of like, hey, we have all this in common. And you know, so that's kind of how I felt with everything, was that I found a place that was the best of both worlds for what I was looking for, with service and then all the social aspects that we do have. So that's also why I've stayed, I guess.
That's awesome. It's crazy the connections you make over the smallest things, right? So with that in mind, for if any of you who did not answer, now is your chance to participate. So if you didn't answer, I'd love for you to tell me something that resonated with you that these other sisters have just shared. What about their story resonated with you? What about their story, made you say, I could be friends with her. She sounds like me. Yes, Emily.
Hi, Nanda. Hello, friends. Okay, so this is kind of the last question, but it will come back around. So I transferred a lot of times. I am now at MTSU MU chapter. I was 23 years old when I activated. I'm now 24, whoop, whoop. I was not planning on joining or even learning about OPA because I am an alumna of a Panhellenic social sorority from an SEC school. That's a whole trauma in and of itself, besides the point. But I had a lot of service experience, and I wanted to make a difference in the lives of others, especially now that I'm membership director and talking to PNMs and the new members. Anyway, a lot of people, or a couple of people I heard that shared or saw in the chat talking about fully embracing you, Mac. That's my president. Love you, B. But also, I wasn't planning on joining a sorority. But the reason why I did is because, like some of the sisters mentioned, that people who were actives at the time pursued them, like messaged them on Instagram. It's like, hey, we want you to come out, blah, 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 interacting on Instagram with them. And it just really, I'm so excited to be here, but I just really have related to everybody, and I'm just so excited, and I just love all of you, and I'm ranting now, but thank you, Nanda.
I love your stories, Emily. I always do. Did anyone else hear something that someone shared that kind of resonated with you? Or did someone share your reason? Or did someone make you think, I identify with that? Yes, Carson.
I just wasn't expecting like so many people to have such a similar story to like why I joined as well. Because I started my first semester at a different school, and I was also a 2020 freshman. And it like my semester at that school literally went horrible. And by the end of that year, I was just like so defeated about college, and I was not looking forward to any of it. I like didn't even go to like the Eagle Fest. My mom literally found it on Facebook and like forced me to join. And so, but yeah, I just never would have expected like to see where I am now, going to be the membership director a year later is just crazy to me that I was able to do it and find so many great people.
I love that. And I love that you heard other people's stories and identified with it. Sounded like you. So why are we sharing, and why should you share? As we've just seen, a lot of us have very similar stories because we're all looking for something when you get to campus. And so if you share, it can help someone else find their path. When you share, they listen because of these different things, because you're showing authenticity and you're welcoming, you're transparent, vulnerable, and accepting. You start to create open communication and you establish trust. And all of that goes into relationship building, right? So the people that you're sharing this with, the people in this virtual room who've just heard these stories, they saw the transparency and they saw the vulnerability. And so that's establishing trust even over Zoom, right? Like, I get you. Carson says, I get you. Like, you are me, and I had no idea that you are me and I am you, and we joined for the same reasons. So allowing people to have something to grasp onto, to identify with, is huge, whether that's in recruitment, whether that's in chapter, whether you're on a service project and you're working with other people from an organization. It totally establishes trust and builds relationships. And as we know, not all sisterhoods are perfect, right? We might have some bumps here and there, which is why I kind of made these blocks, not a uniform block. It's not perfect, but these are the things that you'll come back to as building blocks for your sisterhood in your chapter. So why should you share it, and how should you share it? Like we talked about recruitment on social media, a lot of you all are doing that, but not just on social media. I'm sure there are other ways you could do it if you're making flyers or anything else. Think about that. Think about, how can I be authentic in what we're sharing to promote our sisterhood? Think about activation. Once you have new members, this is a time to open up and build your own trust, establish your own trust and build your own relationship as you're welcoming littles into your family, right? To help them get to know you or get to know other sisters, help you get to know them, to understand how you can be there for them. Also in chapter, as someone just stole my thunder on that idea, thank you. It helps in chapter. It helps to center everyone, just like we're doing this to ground us all before you go into breakouts. And it helps remind us of who we are and why we're here. It also helps to reignite sparks. So all of this that we have just done in 30 minutes may have tugged at something inside of you to say, oh yeah, that's what I'm doing and that's why I'm doing it, just to give you a little more push to get through this weekend of, now I remember why I'm here. You can also do it on special occasions, if you have retreats and senior ceremonies or honoring seniors or anything. And I'm sure there are other awesome ways to do that, reasons to do that. If you have anyone else have any ideas of a different time when you can do this activity? That's okay. If you think about it, just raise your hand and let me know. It can be called something else. I think a lot of people call it Why OPA Wednesdays, right? Why Wednesdays? You could call it Sister Stories. You can call it What Makes You Buzz. You can call it what you want. There are other variations. You could do Why Did I Join? And you could also do Why Did I Stay? You know, why are you still here? Especially after people have been in for 2 semesters, 3 semesters. It's a good opportunity to remember who you were back then and what set you on fire then, to get that back and help others get that back, especially during, you know, difficult times in your chapter or stressful times in the semester around exams or anything. So the most important thing, though, is that we're all here. We're all here in this Zoom room and in this organization to help grow our chapter and help grow the organization nationally. And as you go into your breakouts, just remember your why and remember the difference that you're making, not just for you, but for your chapter. And remember me when I say that years later, you're going to look at that and say, I did that. This chapter is still here because I did it. I put myself into that. Does anybody have anything they would like to share or anything, any questions? Wait, let me check this chat. Let's check this chat. Oh, Taylor's got some great things here. You can do it at info sessions, chapter testimonials. Max says exec board retreat to really get to know the fellow officers. And that's important. That's a great point, Mac. Thank you. Because a lot of times when you're in active, there is a tendency for some people to view exec members differently, right? Even if you've you've been friends or you have your little and everything's great, and then someone is on the exec board and there's this perception of a hierarchy and people can get in their feelings. So it's great. That's a good point to bring that up, to get to know the fellow officers, to ground everyone once again. Bloom and grow. You like my bloom and grow, Emily? You'll see it. It's going to pop up in lots of things. I have ideas. Anyone else want to share anything? Any other ideas of where you could use this or why you think it could help in recruitment or anything else?
Also, going off of with the recruitment thing, like, I don't think, obviously, you don't have to have a reason to share your why did you join. Any random conversation that you're having, not even just with a sister, but with potential new members, just like talk to them, be like, hey, I saw, like, I'm the social media person for my Instagram, for my chapter. So it's like, hey, I saw you followed us. Thanks. Let us know if you have any questions. And then we just strike up a conversation and it's like, well, this is the reason I joined. And they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know you were a theater major considering optometry school. What the heck? Like, so am I. I don't know. But just like, it's not, in my opinion, you don't have to share because it's recruitment time. You share because it's you. And those girls and men and non-binary people and everybody who wants to join or not even join, they're just lurking. They want to know why this is important to you, especially if you're on exec board. That's all I have to say.
Love it. They want to know. People, that's how we build relationships. That's how we identify with others. And how can you identify with people if you don't know? Then it becomes social rush, where they are getting to know what you look like and your outfits. Not that they're all that way, but that was my experience. And that's what they got to know about me, and that's not what I was looking for. So yeah, if you can give people something about you to get to know and to identify with, you'll have people all over and you'll build these strong bonds. Anyone else? Should I stop sharing? I finished a little bit early, Taylor and Alyssa.
It's